Everybody good to go? How's everybody doing?
Good, good.
Okay. Good first day. I'll just start briefly. Really good first day. As you would expect, the energy after putting 7 months of something into it, an opportunity to get on the field, and certainly the last 2 months during the summer, a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of mistakes because it's day one. Talked to them about not being discouraged about anything, and what defines us is how much better we get from day one to day two. So with that, I'll open it up for some questions.
Coach, was there any nerves on your part when you took the field today?
No, I mean, we've worked hard to get ourselves in a position where we're organized and we feel like everybody's on the same page. We're a lot further ahead today than we were, at the end of spring ball. I think just as a staff, cohesiveness, being on the same page, that allows our players to be even more in sync. Some subtle things just with practice management, a guy blowing the horn and that type of thing. But I really feel like our kids know who and what we're about and the direction that we're heading, and I think our staff's on the same page too. So, starting yesterday when we had our first meeting with the report day, I think everybody's excited and ready to go, and certainly myself.
What was the summer like in terms of coming off spring and just maybe taking the opportunity? I know guys are working hard in the weight room, but just getting to know the players. I saw you guys tweets. You were having cookouts at coaches' houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think our strength staff did a phenomenal job between what they were doing in workouts and the way we were feeding our kids of really allowing our players to become the best version of themselves, and that's what we're trying to do every day as individuals. A lot of them have gained a tremendous amount of strength inside the weight room. They're lean, they're in shape. Their bodies, when you see them, they look like they're ready to go out and compete for 60 minutes. The most important thing that we've done, and this is since day one, and it'll be true every single year, is develop relationships with our players, get to know them. It's certainly important in year one when I didn't recruit most of these kids, don't know their backgrounds, don't know their family, brothers and sisters, the makeup of who they are. And so if we're going to talk about being a family and developing those relationships, you got to spend a lot of time, and we've done that since January. But in the summer, every player came over to my house. We did it by class. Seniors first, juniors second, sophomores third. By the time we got to the freshmen, it was a free-for-all, and they were pretty comfortable at my house. We couldn't get them out of there one night. Our staff had them over to eat a couple of times. We went to SeaWorld, had an absolute blast of a day. Just being able to interact with our team. Everybody saw the tweets from the team barbecue. Some places talk about being a family and having those types of relationships and experiences. Here at UCF, we're going to live those out every single day inside of our building.
Josh, it seemed like Mackenzie Milton was the busiest guy in college football with all his travels. What are your thoughts on him and what he did this offseason and how comfortable he is coming into this?
Yeah, he was really busy here. He put all the work in that we expected him to. He'd get out of here, midday Friday when all of our players were done, and he'd get himself to the Manning camp or the Elite 11 experience. The Manning camp I think is great because he gets an opportunity to watch Eli work out, Peyton, get around those guys and just see what makes them tick, but also ask them questions. Those guys have had a great career and what's allowed them to be successful. Go out into the Elite 11 and interact with other great players, high school kids, but get a chance to just go out and maybe even compete a little bit. And I think those are invaluable experiences, just becoming a well-rounded person and a well-rounded athlete. And he's been extremely focused. He's been very purposeful in the way he's worked inside of our meeting room. Just getting a chance to go through the install this morning before we came out on the field. He knows his job from A to Z, and he can rewind it and tell you everything that's going on with all 11 players on offense, and he's got a really good understanding of defensive football right now. He's put a lot of work in since January, so I'm really proud of what he's done.
Josh, what can you take from today's practice? I mean, it was like the first one, but did anything stand out to you when you were looking at it?
I think it's always hard for the front seven. Nothing's real. You don't have shoulder pads on. The physical contact is limited. You want it to be that way. We played in a lot of spread out formations just so we tried to minimize the amount of collisions that we would have on a day like today, and that'll be really typical for the first 2 days. Out wide, you get a chance to see him compete and play in some one-on-one situations. Today there was a bunch of nervous energy from our players. Just when you pour a lot of time and energy into something, you want to make those strides. You want to show them immediately on day one. Some of those things don't come into realization day one. You get a chance to go back and correct so many things. Again, at the end of practice, I called them up. Don't be discouraged about anything. Be extremely positive. We've made a bunch of strides, like where we're at. I thought on special teams, our guys played with great technique and competed extremely hard. And if we do those two things, will win that third of the phase every single Saturday, and that's a big part of us being successful.
You said something last week about not wanting to have the mentality of being the hunted. That's not really
Yeah.
you. Can you what do you mean by that? How do you develop not having or having the hunter's mentality?
Well, I've talked about it's, as a program or even as an individual, it's probably easier to get somewhere on the top of the mountaintop than it is to maintain staying up there. And once you're up there, everyone around this program is talking about, you're going to have a big target on your back or on your chest. And I even talk to our players that way, trying to get them to understand, the reality of the energy and the focus that we're going to see every Saturday. It may be a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. I didn't like that. It doesn't fit my personality. We want to be aggressive. We want to attack. And I think that's a passive way to talk to your football team as well. And so we try to dictate the things that matter to us. One of our goals is to go 1-0, when we focus on each week. Today is about going 1-0 today. And how we attack today will dictate where we're going to get to. And so we kind of flipped the mantra. Instead of being the targeted, we want to attack and be aggressive.
Just a few minutes ago, you mentioned that the guys need to be all in sync and they know the direction that you want to go in. What does that look like for us? What can you do?
Well, some of it you can't see from the outside in. The expectations of how we're going to operate inside of our building every single day, what it means to be a great teammate, hold each other accountable, what it means to become a great leader. I said this in January, I'll say it now, I said it to the team last night. Championship football teams, it's because of the accountability and the brotherhood that exists inside of the locker room. That's what separates a special year from just, a good year. And so we're trying to get all of our kids to become the things that they're capable of in those two leadership roles. I think, things that you'll see is maybe some of the hidden yards, the hidden plays that end up happening during the course of a ball game. And from where we finish spring ball, the technique that our players are able to play with because they truly understand what we're trying to do. I think, halfway through spring ball when we finished up, I thought the second half of spring ball we were a lot different defensively than we were the first half because of the technique and the understanding of how we're going to play snap to whistle. And we've continued to get better through the summer, and I think we'll continue to get better, and we need to continue to get better as we go through training camp. This is the fourth quarter of our off season. First quarter is strength and conditioning. Second quarter is spring ball. Third quarter is your summer. Those three have gotten better. Every quarter we've gone through, we've gotten better as a football team. Our kids have had great purpose. This is the most important because it sets you up to have an opportunity every week when you go on the field on Saturday.
Josh, we heard a lot in the spring about the speed of the offense. As you talk to the guys, is that something, is that whistle to snap, or is there more to it than that? What's the philosophy?
We talk about attacking or competing harder than our opponent, snap to whistle. All right, and then if you are going to play at your fastest tempo, you have to learn to outwork your opponent from the whistle to the snap. That's how you create a guy being out of position. One step in the game of football makes a difference. It might be a second-level linebacker being one step away from being able to make that arm tackle. You know what I mean? 1 6-inch step from a right tackle allows you to cut off, the defensive tackle, or a bad step, his penetration, and now he's playing on the line of scrimmage. So there's so many small details that come into something being successful. It's not just whether you call the run or call the pass. It's how those things are implemented in the technique that you play with.
Does that translate to an elevated number of plays per game, or are there any numbers that you kind of look for as goals?
We really don't. Every game is different. You can play the same opponent 10 straight weeks, and every game is going to unfold different. That's the beauty of college football is you get an opportunity for one shot, one kill. And so for us, it's, understand that we're only as good as our next when we talk about the next game. When we do play with pace, we want to do it because we're going to create a competitive advantage for us, a guy out of position, and that allows our skill guys to make a play.
Josh, I know it's early, but is the overall health of your team going into practice, is it good? Or?
Critical for us that we stay healthy through training camp. I think, where you finish training camp, and you got to get a certain amount of physical work in, but you also have to take care of your guys enough that the totality of what you do in training camp and early of the season dictates where you are health-wise in the middle of the season and at the end of the season too, not just the major injuries that everybody talks about. So we have a plan. We're going to try to take care of them. They're in the ice tubs after every practice. We got things like massage therapists for a bunch of our skilled players. We're going to try to make sure that we're getting a lot of good work in. They're getting acclimated to the weather outside, yet we're not depleting them for the long term.
Josh, how good and deep is this wide receiver core that you have with the addition of Trey? And I think Otis was working with the wide receivers early as well.
Yeah, we got dynamic playmakers that are really still young players for the most part, that have played at a pretty high level. The challenge for them is to not give into a sophomore slump just because you think you played well a year ago, that you're becoming a sophomore, all of a sudden the natural evolution is just going to happen. You have to go out, attack, compete, and go take it and make it happen. We got versatility. With Otis has the ability to play multiple positions. Marlon played some in the backfield. There's a lot of things that we can do as an offensive staff to be creative and have some fun, put pressure on defense.
People are taking shots at UCF now, media taking their pot shots.
As far as?
Just as far as, the whole national title thing from last year, undefeated. When you played at Oklahoma, once you guys started winning a bunch of games, is that natural that the better you are, that the more maybe that you're disliked?
Maybe some truth in that, but I think the best thing that we did, coming off that championship season, I was gone, and they went on a long run the next year, and maybe got tripped up once, is we focused on the following season. We always focused on the next, and the great thing about today is we kicked off 2018. I think our kids are pushing ahead. At the end of the day, it's great for media, great for fans to have a debate. That's awesome. The challenge for us as a program, coaches and players, is to really focus on today and ignore the outside noise. So that's something that we've been talking a lot about.
Coach, everyone's talking about Milton. Sorry, everyone's talking about Milton, but what about the quarterback position as a whole? What do you want to see out of some of the guys behind him?
Yeah, we got a competitive situation. Who's going to take the number 2 spot? Is that number 2 guy going to prove that he can play at a championship level and go help us be what we need to be? So there's a lot of competitiveness at that position right now. We're going to find out where our guys are at, where they've transitioned and grown from where we ended spring ball to where we jump off training camp. Quadri's going to have an opportunity to go out and earn some things as well. Thought he looked really well out there today, threw the ball well.
Coach, what's the impact of having Michael Kalubiali back with this offense?
Veteran player at the tight end position, versatility. I'm used to having a guy that can play in line, that can play off the ball in the backfield and then split out and play wide as well. He has all those skill sets. He's worked tremendously hard getting himself back to playing shape, and he wasn't really out of shape, but he dropped down to I think maybe 210 pounds and has got himself back up to the high 220s and close to where he was last year while he was playing, and hope he continues to do that as we go through training camp.
Coach, you have graduated some key senior leadership, particularly on defense last year. As you've gone through spring and summer, who has sort of been taking charge of those roles?
We lost leadership and great players on both sides of the ball, but certainly dominant players on the defensive side of the ball, and Shaq and Mike Hughes. Those are 2 guys that are on the all-conference team, the history of this conference. And those are big shoes to fill, the leadership portion of it. We did lose leadership. That's the good and the hard thing about college football is 20% of your roster turns over every single year. New opportunities for guys to speak up, take more ownership of the team, more opportunities for guys to step up and go out and make plays. During spring ball, new schemes, new terminology. It's hard for guys to kind of thrust themselves forward and take complete ownership in a leadership role, because you're worried as a player just about, hey, I got to do my job at a high level. Then I got to start communicating to the other guys a little bit. When we got back and summer kicked off, that's where we really saw our leadership come forward. Really excited about Pat Jasinski on the defensive side of the ball, the ownership that he's taken. Titus has done a really good job, and Joey Connors as well. And then you look at offensively, Wyatt Miller is kind of the key component to that, and McKenzie's starting to take more of that as well as he matures.
2 more here. Following up on that question, you talk about Kyle Gibson's leadership. I've heard that from players too, talking about where he kind of takes young guys under his wing. Can you talk about that?
Kyle's a really positive guy, and I think with young players, we've put all of our older players that kind of are on a leadership council in a position to be a big brother, a mentor to the new guys that have come into our program. Kyle's done that with all the guys that are younger players. Just trying to show them what it takes in the film room. the mentality, the attitude you have to have when you walk into the weight room every single day, and then how you have to attack practice.
Will Kyle miss the first regular season game because of the bowl game? Didn't
No.
you know?
Don't believe so.
Doesn't care.
No.
Coach, what kind of-
Last one.
what kind of theme or message do you kind of drill into the guys on the first day?
We're pretty consistent in our message. Two things we talk about is attacking, and you know, for us defensively, that means playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and outworking our opponent, snap to whistle. Same on offense. Offensively, we talk about creating big plays, and just the mentality and attitude that we have to have. And so that's the first thing we talk about. That was the message of today. And then we talked about taking care of the football and going and hawking the ball on the defense side of the ball. So we'll get into that about day 3.
Are you all settled in now? Family settled in? You guys are getting comfortable here in Orlando?
Yeah, we're more than comfortable. So family's been here since December 23rd. Kids absolutely love their school. The community of Orlando has been fantastic. The community at the school that they're going to has been great. They had a fantastic summer here vacationing on both sides of the coast and doing some theme parks here in Orlando as well. And I got out with them for a couple of days too, so that was good.
All right, guys, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.